this chapter, the second chapter of their book, was about purpose, the purpose of your organization. So first of all, these are the two authors. They seem like pretty cool guys. Francisco Szekely works in Lausanne, Switzerland at a business university out there. So if you're ever in Switzerland, you should meet up with him. He's the director of their sustainability program, sort of like Keith, but Switzerland. And then Zahir Dossa seems like the sort of guy you would want to go get coffee or network with. He's done a lot of really cool stuff. These guys met through MIT, and that's how they collaborated on this article. So basically, the article is talking about how purpose, how missions of organizations have evolved. They've evolved from the somewhat dumpy and narrow definition of profitability to a more enticing definition, which includes sustainability. We have to go deeper, as David Packard of the Hewlett-Packard Group says, and look at the real reasons for our company. So what I'm going to do right now is send y'all a link. This is our first little group activity. I'm sending this in the chat as from another computer. I just sent it in the chat, and if you could copy and paste that and follow that link. And basically what we're going to be looking at, also it's going to ask you to give your name and all that stuff. You can just skip that step. So basically we're going to, instead of thinking of a business, because we don't necessarily know businesses that well right now, we're going to think of ourselves. We are an organization. And you're going to reflect on these questions. What is the most significant part of you? What makes you different from others? What matters most to you? Why are you here? Now, these are pretty big questions, and you don't have to answer all of them. But what I'd like you to do is follow the link and type in one word that sort of answers one or a few of these questions. Does that make sense?
How many times do we do it? Just once or more than once?
Hey, you know what? If you want to do it more than once, up to 3 times, okay? Then I'm cutting you off. So what we've got going on here is a word cloud. Nice. Mm-hmm. Okay, 15 more seconds. Actually gonna, well. Okay. Nice job, everyone. So the words that appear larger here and that are more central are words that have been repeated or entered by multiple people. So it seems like we're into empowerment, achievement, and love. Really achieve. I'd like just one person to maybe talk about the word that they chose? Any brave souls?
I chose improve.
Nice.
I
And
feel like,
who is this?
I'm sorry, Jason. Sorry. I feel like, sustainability businesses are here to improve the community, the world. But we're all here to improve ourselves by getting an MBA in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
So a little bit of double meaning.
That's great, Jason. Thank you. Improve is a great word. So that's our word cloud. Nice job, everyone. So the authors, Francisco and Zahir, talk about the 4 stages of sustainability for a business, from survival down to sustainability. If we think back to those quotes, and those ideas of business, profitability versus asking yourself why you're really here, how might you distinguish between, let's say, stage 1 and stage 4? How would you think of a business that's at stage 1? Like, what's their thinking versus the thinking of a business that's at stage 4? Does anyone have an idea on that? Were you able to distinguish that from the readings?
Like short-term versus long-term.
Okay, nice. Yeah, short versus long-term. Long-term being sustainability.
Yes.
Return survival. Nice. And who was that?
Kaylee.
Kaylee, nice. Anyone else?
Yeah, I felt like it was a lot about stakeholders who they were considering in their mission. Was it just the shareholders about making profit, or did they widen that stakeholder group out to include other people as well?
Nice. Thank you, Beatrice. I recognize your voice. So now I'm going to send you another link. And we're going to choose our favorite mission. Hold on here. Follow this second link in the chat, everyone. And here you are given 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 mission statements by some of the different companies. These were missions that were listed, that were mentioned in this article. Some of them you may recognize, but you've got one choice. Choose your favorite. Excellent. I'll give you 15 more seconds. Wow. Excellent. So, looks like our first mission statement. Oh yeah. The favorite one is inspiring a consumer revolution that nurtures the health of the next 7 generations. And our second favorite being organizing the world's information and making it universally accessible and useful. So you may recognize these two. Sorry. So I guess 7th generation was our favorite. Google was our second favorite. Okay. Sorry. It's a lot of back and forth. You guys are very patient. So these were the companies that the article looked at. I think I'm missing just 1 or 2, GM and 1 more. But I had 2 favorite companies, 2 companies that seemed a bit more on the sustainable end of the spectrum. First was Interface, and then Johnson & Johnson. Interface I liked because I was a bit surprised. I was surprised that a carpeting or a carpet tile company would strike me as sustainable. It was led by a very ambitious CEO, Ray Anderson, who put forward his Mission Zero. And thanks to that Mission Zero, you can see on the right there, it's a little bit blurry, but Interface Carpet Tiles is working on the top, reducing its pounds of waste that it sends to the dump, and increasing on the bottom its renewable energy, its percentage of renewable energy. And at this point, they're at, it looks like 40%. So Interface Carpets is pretty inspirational. Johnson & Johnson was a really good story. James Burke, the CEO, on the bottom, dealt with the 1982 potassium cyanide scandal, which killed a half-dozen people in Chicago. Tylenol pills were found to have amounts of potassium cyanide, which is very deadly. And he dealt with it immediately, recalling large amounts of their pills from the shelves of pharmacies and from even people's houses, and stopping production after 1 week after the first death. Very immediate. The stock price and the market shares fell instantly, but they did make a comeback. So like we were talking about earlier, he knew that he would take the short-term hit, but he knew in the long term it would pay off. And he protected the well-being of the customers. So they showed their company's values. On the other end of the spectrum, we've got a mission failure by Toyota, who, this is very sad, but who was having acceleration issues. Their cars would just start accelerating, and it took them a number of months to do a full recall. At first, they did a recall on vehicles with certain floor mats, and then they decided to do a larger recall. This was in January of 2010, having to do with the acceleration pedals. And their thinking was short term, not long term. They were thinking, well, we'll save ourselves $100 million. But in the long run, they ended up paying a lot more because of lawsuits, claims, and a larger recall. They ended up paying a $1.2 billion fine to the US government. 89 people died. That's confirmed. There may have been more. And there were 6,200 complaints to the National Highway and Transit something association. So Toyota, not so sustainable, very short-sighted. Okay. Last activity I'd like to just fit in here. This is similar to the first activity. Here's your link. the third link. So follow that. Similar to the first activity, we're reflecting on the significant part of us, what makes us different, what matters most, why are we here? But this time, describe that in 1 to 2 sentences. You might want to incorporate some of the words you used in our first activity. And I will give you a minute to reflect on these questions.
You go
Keith,
back.
how am I doing in time?
You're just about out of time.
Perfect.
So
I've got
yeah, you're just going to want to wrap that up in a minute or two.
excellent. Nice. Great. Hello.
I'm letting Jill Radigan into the meeting. She is from French Broad Chocolates, so she'll be watching us wrap this up. And I'm just going to say a word to her when she arrives.
Great. And as you know, I've got a couple more slides, but I'm going to skip those, and I'd like to leave this up because this is pretty cool, having the purposes or personal mission statements up and helping us think about ourselves, but also how this might be translated into the business environment. So
I like that. I like it a lot.
yeah.
Thank you, Andrew.
Yeah.
Does anyone have any comments or